Good evening, viewers. You're watching To The Point. I'm Preeti Choudhary. Ever since the protests after Friday prayers, where in some parts there was violence in Uttar Pradesh, Yogi Adityanath, the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, said that those who indulged in violence will pay the price. Well, in the last 2 days, we've seen bulldozers roll in Saharanpur, in Prayagraj, in Kanpur. Is this justice bulldozed, or is this what the UP government says a befitting payback to what they deem are rioters?
A day after the house of Javed Mohammed, who allegedly mobilized protests against the Prophet remark, was demolished, a group of advocates have moved the Allahabad High Court for relief. On Sunday, the bulldozers had unleashed the iron hand on alleged illegal properties linked to suspects involved in the violent protests in Prayagraj. Javed's family was served a notice just the day before. His daughter, Afreen Fatima, a JNU and AMU alumna who had earlier taken part in the anti-CAA protest, is also under police scanner. Fatima has called the demolition a witch hunt against her family.
It's happening to a lot of houses in Allahabad, a lot of Muslim houses in Allahabad. Situation right now for more than 8 hours, I have no idea where my father is. I have no idea where my mother is. I have no idea where my younger sister is. I have no idea where these 3 people of my family are.
The family's supporters claim the house razed belongs to Javed's wife and the demolition was anything but legal.
I am telling you, there is not an inch of law. Only at the best, basically, there is a provision under the PMLA to attach the property. And even before taking the possession, one has to give the notice, and the court has got the power to stay the even taking the possession. Demolition without the notice, without the trial, is totally against the law. There is no law at all.
Police claim Javed's house was illegal. They allegedly recovered 2 illegal arms and several cartridges during the demolition.
उपलब्ध साक्ष्यों, वीडियो और फोटोग्राफ्स के आधार पर ही कार्रवाई करनी है। किसी भी हालत में किसी निर्दोष के विरुद्ध कार्रवाई न हो, लेकिन कोई भी दंगाई बचने न पाए, इस सिद्धांत पे हम लोग कार्य कर रहे हैं।
The Yogi Adityanath government's bulldozer Raj has left Prayagraj residents shaken. Not just the accused houses, even shops located in the area where protests took place are facing action.
हम लोग एक एहतियातन इसलिए हटा दे रहे हैं कि भाई बुलडोजर आता है तो कुछ मानिए टीन थोड़ी बाहर है, वो हो सकता है खींचे उचे तो उसमें टूटने का भी डर सब माहौल है।
कहीं भी हम किराए का मिलेगा, कहीं तो रखेंगे सामान, कुछ हमें पता नहीं। हमें भैया हम लोगों को कुछ नहीं है पता, हम लोगों को कुछ नहीं पता, हम लोग पागल हैं भाई।
Similar crackdowns were seen in Kanpur and Saharanpur on the weekend. Chief Minister Adityanath has warned of stern action against those who resort to violence, but the bulldozer Raj pushed by him is being questioned by the opposition.
जो दंगा करेगा उसका तो उसके ऊपर घर पे बुलडोजर चलेगा ही चलेगा। ये तो और स्टेट को इसका एग्जाम्पल लेना चाहिए। भाई हमारे देश में देखो, योगी आदित्यनाथ जी ने भी स्पष्ट कहा कि एक भी निर्दोष को सजा नहीं मिलनी चाहिए और एक भी दोषी बचना नहीं चाहिए। तो जो लोग दंगे करने को तैयार हैं, जो लोग निर्दोषों को मारने पे के लिए आके बढ़ाते हैं, बम फेंकते हैं, तो उनके ऊपर सजा तो होनी चाहिए। ये बुलडोजर चलता रहेगा।
जो बुलडोजर की राजनीति भाजपा कर रही है वो संविधान के खिलाफ है। वो पूरे मुसलमानों कलेक्टिव पनिशमेंट दे रहे हैं और जजेस का रोल वो उसको कब्जा करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। अगर बुलडोजर की राजनीति भाजपा करते रहेगी, चाहे वो खरगोन सेंधवा में हो या गुजरात में हो या फिर उत्तर प्रदेश में हो, तो फिर अदालत की क्या जरूरत है? अदालत को ताला डाल दीजिए, जजेस को कहिए घर में बैठ जाएं। पुलिस की जरूरत नहीं है, क्योंकि मुख्यमंत्री तय करेगा कि कौन मुल्जिम है और वो सजा दे देगा।
While the BJP rode the bulldozer to election victory in UP, prompting other states also to take up the Yogi model, questions are now being raised over the constitutionality of the method. Bureau Report, India Today.
So, viewers, did the bulldozers run riot in Uttar Pradesh, or was punishment meted out to rioters? Whichever it might be, the fact is, and that's the question that we're going to ask, what is the legality of the demolition drive that was carried out in Uttar Pradesh over the course of the last 2 days? Joining me is Ratan Sharda. He's the author and RSS ideologue. I have Waris Pathan, spokesperson AIMIM, and I have Ashish Dixit, who is an advocate. Mr. Dixit, I want to begin with you, and I want to ask you. The Uttar Pradesh government has given multiple laws under which they say that this demolition drive has taken place. There's a Gangster Act, but none of them really come under the purview of the Constitution that allows this kind of a drive to actually take place ad nauseum. You can't be judge, jury and the executioner.
See, as long as the acts which you have quoted, Gangster Act and all those other acts, if they are constitutional, and I believe they are constitutional, there is no judgment from the court that these laws are ultra vires to the Constitution. So the state of UP can take a defense that we are acting within the purview of the law, and this is what I think the UP ADGP has also clarified. But the important question which we need to ask is this: whether the principles of natural justice are being complied in these cases. And these things are very fact related and individual oriented. You cannot say that everyone should be given notice or each locality should be given notice, but if you are demolishing someone's house, obviously there is a requirement to give notice. You cannot suddenly turn and come in one day and say that we will demolish this order and demolish this building or the residential premises. And if I invite your attention to the proceedings in the Jagirpuri violence, the Supreme Court was very clear that we are not going to stay all the demolitions in the country. The state has to satisfy that the demolition was done within the purview of the law. There is no denial of the fact that state has ample power to demolish the illegal buildings and encroachments. And let's be very pragmatic.
Right.
In our country, with the system which we follow, most of the buildings are primarily illegal. If a municipal corporation has some vendetta against you, they may misuse the provisions. So
right.
We need
but
to
Mr. Dixit, the fact that it was misused is a separate thing, because now there are certain buildings in Prayagraj which were demolished, and it's still debatable. But there is a whole perspective being given where Javed Ahmed or one accused house is concerned. It didn't even quite belong to him. Forget about the illegality of it all.
No, that is what, if it belongs to him, then it will be doubly dangerous, because the person is accused and you are demolishing the house. The fact is the house is in the name of the wife. The state can say that because the house was illegal or there was some illegal construction, therefore we are demolishing it. So we need to draw this fine line that in cases where there is an apparent malafide on the part of the state, that just because someone is accused of some particular offense,
right,
tomorrow you will go and demolish their house. That should not be done. That should not be the practice
right
of the state. This is literally misusing of the law. But where there is a illegality which has already happened and state is acting on that, the person has to show that the entire act of the state was utterly based on malafide and nothing else.
Right.
Which becomes a very difficult task in the
Well,
court
in this case, that's why questions are being raised, and I will go across to our other two panelists this evening. Appreciate.
No, may I just, if I may just give example of Jagisi. When a house is demolished, obviously the people will say that there was no notice given and nothing was there. I have not come across a single case where a person will come to the court and say that no, MCD has given me notice or some municipal body has given me notice. This is always a disputed question of fact. But when it becomes the policy of the state that we will demolish the house of a person who is named as an accused, that is what is difficult and should not be done under our scheme of law.
All right. Okay. So, we've got the perspective in terms of law, and Ratan Sharda, let me begin with you, sir. And the fact is, taking off from even what Mr. Dixit said, just because somebody is an accused gives you no right to, without notice, go and demolish his house, especially where a democracy like India is concerned, under our constitutions, under our purview of laws.
Well, Preeti, somebody has to find out whether there is a connection between the accused and the house demolition. because house demolitions are as per the illegality notice given to them much earlier. In many debates, there are people who have come and said that this was 7-year-old notice, why it was not done earlier, why it is done now. So firstly, I would also like to remind you, I am not an RSS ideologue. I have said time and again, I am just an RSS researcher and a writer, so we should avoid the word like ideologue.
So we're going to take
Secondly,
it off your
secondly, when we talk of constitution, constitution is not one-sided sword. It is double-edged sword. There are people sitting here who very conveniently talk of constitution, but here Mr. Pathan, who other channels has refused to answer whether Sir Tan se juda or whether the MP, nothing but an MP, has gone ahead as a lawmaker to say that Nupur Sharma is to be hanged publicly. What is his answer to that? What is his answer when thousands of people come on road, lakhs of them actually, across India as if predetermined and throw stones, create violence? Have they condemned it? Did he ever condemn that class secular topic, condemn the insult and abuse of Hindu gods and Hindus? No. So now to cry victimhood is perversity of justice, because these people are the ones who actually created the atmosphere where all this hate is created. So let Mr. Pathan start with an argument whether he agrees with Sir Tan se juda, whether he agrees with the AIMIM MP about hanging in the public. Then we will see.
All right. I want to cut across and get Mr. Waris Pathan back into this conversation. Actually, he hasn't spoken yet. But Mr. Pathan, at one end, yes, questions need to be raised over the legality of this demolition drive that has taken place over the last 2 days, which many say that A, there is nothing illegal about the construction, and in one case, the house doesn't even belong to the accused. But on the other hand, there's a question that has been posed by a co-panelist. Would you care to answer that, sir?
Well, first and foremost, Preeti, I have always said and I reiterate that violence of all kind is condemnable and we don't support violence. Our party stand is clear. If Nupur Sharma has committed, if she stated something against our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, which she should have not said, she tried to insult, and we will not tolerate that. So we have said that let the law of the land take its own course. Let she be punished as per the law.
Did you condemn?
Now coming here, as I said,
so
that the country will run on the constitution and the rule of law.
Go ahead, Mr. Pathan, make your point.
The country will run on the constitution and follow the rule of law and not on the bulldozer politics. Now coming back to Allahabad, what happens to the place of Afrin Fatima? She has categorically stated that the house belongs to her mother. Her mother has been making the payments, the bills of the municipality and everything. And if the Yogi government felt that it was illegal, so what were they doing for the last 7 years? And let me tell you, Yogi is not the Chief Justice of Uttar Pradesh, he is the CM of Uttar Pradesh. He should not take law into his own hand. In law, it is said that a man is presumed to be innocent unless and until proven guilty by the courts of law. But here you are just going there with a bulldozer, bulldozing the premises. And what did they do? First they picked up Javed Saab, his wife, his daughter, and all of a sudden, without going notice, you go there and bulldoze. Is this democracy? Are they following the constitution? Is this rule of law? Then what is the use of the courts? Why don't we shut down all the courts in the country, and if you find that a man is indulging in this activity, straightway hang him, go with a bulldozer, demolish his home. If this is the way they want to run, then what will happen to our great nation, Bharat? That is why I always say they are trying to destroy the pluralism, secularism of our country. Now, ex-Chief Justice of Allahabad High Court, I am talking about him, he has said so, and in your paper itself, the Indian Express reported that you cannot use bulldozer, you cannot demolish. Demolition itself is an illegal act. Now, so will we follow the ex-Chief Justice statement, or should we go ahead and follow the statement which have been given by the so-called fringe elements of the BJP and their likes?
Okay.
We have to follow the law. See, if law is not followed properly, why they are targeting a particular community, let me tell you. The thing which we are seeing is that particular community, the Muslims, are being targeted. What happened to Ajay Kumar Tennyson? His son went there with the Thar car and he had killed 5 of our protesting farmers who were protesting peacefully. Did Yogi's bulldozer went to his home and was his home demolished? No. So this is what we say, that this is the systematic targeting of the Muslim community by using the bulldozer politics, which
Ratan
is
Sharda,
not good for the constitution and the democracy.
Right. Ratan Sharda, that's what he said. You just don't need to be fair, you need to be a pair to be fair. And here, there are questions that are being raised, sir. Would you at least reckon and accept that these questions are justified? Because yes, protests take place and then immediately right after, that's the area which is targeted by the bulldozers?
Well, if you look at the destruction of illegal properties in UP, in Noida, most of the houses that were destroyed or demolished were of Hindus. This particular action has been going on in UP for long. It is not that has suddenly happened. Now Mr. Waris Pathan has to decide whether it was a 7-year-old illegal structure or it is something that happened just now, because he makes a contradictory statement. And he never condemned either the abuse of Hindu gods, never condemned their MP saying that she should be hanged publicly. So you can't keep on talking constitution without following it. They said in public, in Ram Mandir case, that humko bheek nahi chahiye to Supreme Court judgment. That is what they said. So when you use constitution very sparingly, and when triple talaq case came up, you said you don't agree with it. If this is the situation, not to talk, and what is the, if we say that how this belong to that lady, it only shows that demolition of houses and these riot cases are not connected.
But
and did they stop
Ratan
the
Sharda,
collection of people on the
your
Namas?
co-panelists of today.
Just
Sir,
a moment.
yes,
Have they criticized the new, another fatwa by a Maulvi that next Friday also there will be protest? They will not. Because they want the society to burn. A party which is based on the name of Muslim, Muslimin, talks of secularism. They talk of constitution, it suits them. So constitution has said it is a double-edged sword, be careful.
Right.
It cannot be one.
Mr. Sharda, I'm going to bring in Waris Pathan back into this conversation because you've raised certain questions, but I want to ask you, sir, whatever you're accusing, your co-panelist there, you stand guilty yourself, sir, because you're actually telling us that Noida illegal housing demolition has been going on for very long. The fact that exactly the same accused houses have been targeted, be it Kanpur, be it Prayagraj, be it Saharanpur, it's because there is an illegal demolition drive. Are we to believe that?
Is this question posed to me, Preeti?
No, sir, it's for Mr. Sharda and then I'll come to you. Mr. Sharda, that's the question I'm asking you, because, you know, you'd have us believe that it is due process of law.
Well, as per the judgments previously given on the illegality or legality of the structure and the use of bulldozers, courts have given clearance to that particular case. It is not something new that has happened. And as far as a particular case is concerned, I don't see in UP. I am not a BJP person. So you should direct the question to BJP. What I understood, I responded.
All right, fair enough. Okay. Waris Pathan, there were questions that were posed by Ratan Sharda saying that, you know, you can't condemn one part and then be party to the other where violating the Indian Constitution is concerned.
Well, we have been condemning all parts. We condemn violence. We condemn call for violence.
Never.
We say peaceful protest is a right given to us by the Constitution. Every individual in the country has a right to protest peacefully as per the Constitution. But the BJP people, they don't understand this language. They want to say only one thing, that whatever we do is right and whatever the others do, they are not right. They don't want to follow the Constitution. They say they believe in democracy, but they are not. They are killing the Constitution every day. And Mr. Ratan Sharda is ignorant about the fact that our party president at hold press conference very clearly stated that if Nupur Sharma has committed something wrong, let the rule of the law take its own place, let the rule be followed, let the Constitution be followed, and she should be punished for the language she has used against our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, which no Muslim would tolerate in India or all over the world. She had heard the sentiments of billions of Muslims all over the world. So let her be punished as per the Constitution. But Mr. Sharda does not listen to the press conference. He is ignorant about the present day scenario in the country. He just wants to run his agenda, which is of spreading hate and only hate. They don't want to see that the country, that the smoothness is going in the country. They feel that no. Because hate is spread in our country by whom? By the so-called Sansad, Dharam Sansad which took place. What happened there? Their call for genocide of the Muslims were given. Why they were not stopped? You take them, you book them, you send them to jail, within a day they are out. When call for raping the Muslim women are being made, what do you do about them? You just arrest them, in one day they come out on bail. And most important thing is, during all these calls against the Muslims are given, the Prime Minister of the country, Narendra Modi, is silent. When a cricketer got injured, his thumb got injured, Modi tweeted, but when the entire country is burning, Modi is silent. Why is he silent? He should come out in the open and
okay,
say
Mr.
that
Pathan,
please stop
and,
this.
you know, I want to,
if he comes and say it will
right.
stop, otherwise it won't stop.
All right, okay. So intervention has to happen. Bridges need to be built, and it now needs to happen at the highest level. Is what Mr. Waris Pathan is saying. I want to bring in Ashish Dixit back into this conversation. Ashish Dixit, at this point of time, you know, you and I can keep debating till kingdom come whether or not this is illegal, legal, under the purview of the law. But there are courts, Ashish Dixit, and are the courts playing the right role is a question that I want to ask you.
See, whenever the matters are brought to the notice of the court, they have granted favorable orders to the parties if that orders are made out on the basis of the law of the land. You cannot claim that just because my house or my building is being demolished, it should be stayed. It is governed by a rule of law. There is an act. If the court will find that there is some violation, let's take the example of
Ashish Dixit, with what's going right now, can the top courts take suo moto cognizance and maybe stall proceedings till the time things are clarified?
See, the matter is already before the Supreme Court. On 21st of April, the matter was taken up when the Jabi violation matter was taken up. In that, there was a prayer made that the demolition should be stayed throughout the country. The prayer was specifically declined by the court, and I believe now these parties have preferred an application.
Saying at Allahabad High Court it started again.
Yes, now Allahabad also, I think one application has also been filed in the Supreme Court.
Yes.
So the thing is, we cannot expect the Supreme Court or the High Courts to take suo moto cognizance of everything. Once you
but how big is everything is a question. Okay, Mr. Dixit, I'm running out of time, and many would suggest that this is something that the court... Yes, no, I agree.
There are bigger issues to be dealt with.
Well, many would say this is the biggest issue right now.
People are languishing in jails. So there are multiple issues which we are facing.
Well, you know, many would say it's not a minor issue. It has a larger political, social context which is woven into the political narrative and the social narrative of this country. But 30 seconds, sir. Mr. Sharda, go ahead. Closing, sir.
See, I have not yet. He has made very general statement. I want to pin him down whether he has condemned Ratan Sharda, whether they have thrown out the MP who publicly asked for hanging of Nupur Sharma. He has to answer that question. He cannot make generalized statements.
Okay. Your Aurangabad MP, Mr. Waris Pathan, I don't have time right now, but I will ask you is what Mr. Sharda is saying. Your Aurangabad MP made a statement which was highly provocative. Do you condemn it?
I will not answer as per his whims and fancies. I have made myself very, very clear. And if he does not understand English, I don't have to say anything on that.
He is exposed.
Okay. All right. Okay. You don't want to comment on that. With the permission of all three of our panelists, may I just bow out of this debate. Thank you all for joining us. We're going to keep a keen eye on all developments. Is this bulldozer justice? Is it justified? Well, is it this new form of muscular politics that we are seeing in Uttar Pradesh? Many questions. I don't think, it's going to stop any time now. But we're going to get our viewers the latest. Do stay tuned.